Hello, Kiss Army. I'm Pasquale Veri.
And I am Klaus Pera. Welcome to Let Me Know, a short kiss. This time, a short kiss.
A short kiss and the last kiss. So, guys, listen, I don't want to beat around the bush. As the title suggests, Claudia and I have had a discussion. We've talked over breakfast, and we decided together that we're going to close the curtain on the show. So the reasons are numerous, but to be honest, the seeds have been planted since I think 2023. It's been a while, but we're not here to talk about the reasons. We're not here to talk about that. The show has always been about celebration, and tonight we want to celebrate. We want to thank all the amazing people that made this show possible, and all the experiences that this show, just like the band, afforded us for the past 5 years.
Absolutely. Well, we were there was a time for reflection for both of us. We went through some kind of a retrospection process because this means and it meant a lot for us. This is something that was born out of love and passion for the band, and we were able to create, so many, awesome relationships, friendships, and we became a full family. And I think that at the end of the day, everything comes to an end. For us, it didn't make too much sense to stretch, the project if we didn't feel the passion that we've always felt. And so, as Pas was saying, numerous reasons. We don't have to drag the explanation, for forever. But at the end of the day, I think it's time to celebrate. It's time to express our gratitude to the amazing guests that we've had over 5 years, right, Pasc?
Yeah,
Over
5 years.
5 years. It was a long run, and I think we never thought we were going to go that far. Not because of us, but because the support and the amazing feedback that we had from people from all over the world, and that basically was our injection of food, and water for us to keep us going. So keep going, Pasc. So we're gonna we're kind of, there's no script this time, so we were thinking of doing this short and sweet, as we've always done, the let me knows. And go ahead, Pasc, if you have something else to say.
Well, the biggest complaint at the final show in 2023 is that Kiss didn't go up on stage and thank all the people that made their 50 years possible. We are not going to make that mistake, and that's why we're here. First and foremost, I have to thank Andy Moyen. Those of you that were here from the beginning, it was Andy that convinced me to do this podcast. I did not feel comfortable. I didn't think I had what it takes to do a podcast like this, and he pushed me to do it. And Andy and I recorded the first 12 episodes, roughly, of this show. So he, in a sense, is the foundation, the springboard that everything else that came after it. So, Andy, thank you so much for the push and for what you gave to the show at the time. And I also want to thank Matt Porter and Ken Mills. They were my support system early on in the show when I was very insecure about it. And I remember at one point, Ken and I actually had a Zoom meeting, and we spent over an hour. He gave me advice about podcasting, and he gave me so much confidence to do this. And all the words of wisdom from Matt Porter. And we had Matt on the show so many times. We talked about Matt on the show so many times. It became a drinking game. Every time we mentioned Matt, we have a shot, because we mentioned him on the show so much. He might not have been on the show in every episode, but his spirit was definitely there. So thank you so much to Matt and Ken for your support and believing in me, believing in us, and and believing in the show. Julian Gill and the FAQ podcast. I want to thank him as well. That show was my inspiration to do a podcast. When I was listening to that show, and FAQ and the Kiss Room were the first two podcasts Kiss podcasts I started listening to. So I'm listening to the FAQ podcast, and it's like, wow, these guys are amazing. The amount of detail and minutia, I can never do that, you know. But that was the template to this show. If you really compare this show with theirs, there's a lot of similarities, and I did that on purpose. I wanted that for me to be the standard, you know. A lot of podcasters say, "Oh, we're just sitting here playing record and we'll talk." Okay, that's a discussion. That's, you know, we're in a bar and we're talking. If we're going to call this a show, I want to create a show, you know. And Claudia, you were mentioning that it was time, and you were surprised how long this lasted. I'm surprised too, not because of the quality. As a matter of fact, listen, the numbers were actually going up. Right? We've never done better than we have now.
Yeah,
you know?
we were. Absolutely.
But like Kiss have said, you know, it's better to go off at the top than, you know, going out at the bottom.
Not only going when we were on top, but also to be honest, because, you know, one of the things that we didn't like that much about the band lately is this kind of dual message, you know, saying something and doing something different. And in our case, not because we want to compare ourselves to the band or anything like that, I think we can be proud to say that we've always been true to ourselves. You know, since the very beginning. So now that you're taking the time to thank people, I have to start with you. I have to thank you for inviting me, you know, to be part of this journey. That was amazing. I never thought, I never doubted, you know, to say yes, because, you know, I was so happy, you know, when I was looking at what you were doing with Andy. I said, wow, that's amazing. You know, I would like to be part of this. And we grew, you know. I think we evolved in a very good way. So not only because of the guests, but also, you know, since the beginning we defined that our podcast was all about the fans, and we kept it that way. So discussion panels, fan profiles. Even when we were inviting guests, you know, passion, you know, with their projects, books, you know, movies, anything. It was always about, you know, from the fan profile, you know, just looking at it as a fan. We were not going into the minutiae of the band. There are so many podcasts out there which are great, you know, talking about, you know, dissecting albums, you know, songs and everything. Since the beginning, we said, no, we were not going to do that. And you know, doing this for 5 years, it's freaking amazing, you know, because we could continue just, you know, the discussion panels are endless, you know, the topics that we could discuss. But if we need to be true to ourselves, and there has to be passion behind all of this, you know, when the light, you know, starts to dim a bit, you know, it's not so bright. So then maybe it's time to recharge batteries, you know, maybe put energy into something else. Who knows? We might come back, you know, with another Kiss related project. But this is the time when we felt that we basically needed a time, and we put a good end to it.
I've often mentioned on the show that I've been having like a Kissistential issues, you know, and basically what that was is like I wanted to do something else, you know. I spent so many years of my life devoted to this band, and I have so many different interests, so many things I wanted to do, but I didn't do it because of the band. I want to collect this, but I can't because I have to collect this Kiss item. I want to go to this event, but this Kiss event is happening. I put aside a lot of other interests, And that's what I've been reflecting on. It's like I'm 57 years old. I'm not getting any younger. There's more years behind me than there is ahead of me, and there's so much more I want to do. And every time I talk to people, that's how they relate to me. It's everything Kiss. There's so much more to me than that, and I want to explore some of those things, and that's what I want to do moving forward. So saying goodbye to the show, it's bittersweet, very bitter, because it's an amazing show. It was an amazing show, and that it lasted 5 years is a tribute to all the guests that we've had. This is
Absolutely.
this is a guest heavy show. We've had
Yeah,
guests
yeah.
every single week for 5 years. That's insane.
Yeah.
But people kept
Yeah.
on coming back and coming to the show and saying yes.
Yeah.
It was a true honor. But now it's like it's been great. But at this point on, I feel like I'd be going through the motions.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want to do other things that I'm really, really excited about.
Yeah, well, it's we all have our reasons. Me too. I've been going through a process of, on the personal side of things, changing jobs and reflecting a lot, over the new year, on what my priorities are, and of course, our love for the band is not gonna go away. So of course, the music will always be there, our collections will be there, but this specific project, well, I think it was time to wrap it up, and of course we're gonna go into this later, but I just want to mention that a big part of our show was the discussion panels, and for the discussion panels, we need to thank enormously to our friends, our family that made it possible. Craig, Pat, Michael, Rolla, Eric, help me out, Kurt,
Rob,
Rob, we had participations, from dear friends, Jim, he was with us a couple of times, and then guests that actually appeared on several episodes because they all became part of the family. Xander, the guys from Kiss Army Things, and all of the podcasts that we have friends with. So I hope not to forget anybody. I don't know. You have a list there with you, Paz. So
I absolutely want to mention Xander, because Xander and I had a relationship way before this show. As you know, I was organizing a lot of Kiss related events in Montreal, and it was Xander that did all of my promotions for those shows for at least a good 4 years before this show came to be. So when we started the Kiss Army Nation podcast, and I wanted to create a look for this show, I went to Xander because I knew that he would do an amazing job. And whenever I look at this show, I see him because it has his fingerprints all over it. Over it. And it's an amazing look because he's an amazing person, and he puts 100% into everything he does. And now he's part of he's running the Kiss Museum, and I wish him all the best with that. And it couldn't be in better hands than with Xander. And Xander is the future of Kiss. People like Xander. The legacy of Kiss is people like Xander that will keep the memory of the band alive through positivity and not negativity, not division, but celebrating the band.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. It's so, and again, all of the people that we mentioned, there was always, and we want to stress the fact that this show has always been about being positive, not because we like everything that Kiss has done or will do, but because of the approach. There's no point of getting together for an hour, just to complain or just to whine and cry over things. For that, there are so many, awful things happening right now in the world, so that we don't have to intoxicate our passion with negativity. So we pick the positive, and we have a good time. and off we go. So Kiss has always been about entertainment, with a big portion of music, on top of it, and that's what we try to maintain over 5 years. And and I hope you agree with me, Pask, but I think the mission accomplished, my friend. Mission
Yeah.
accomplished.
Yeah. My only concern, and we talked about this before as well. Final thing I want to say, a lot of my world revolved around Kiss, and therefore a lot of my friends revolved around Kiss. And yes, I want to move on to other things, and I'm excited about that. But I really hope that we are able to maintain those friendships with the members of the Kiss Army out there. I hope those friendships are is bigger than Kiss, is
Yeah.
deeper than Kiss. That it's a true friendship based on shared values, beliefs, and principles, not just interests.
Yeah.
And I hope, Claudio, that you and I continue to keep in touch as much, or if not more, than we have been because of the show. I got used to seeing you and talking to you at least once a week.
Oh yeah.
And now not
Oh,
doing
yeah.
the show anymore. I hope, my friend, that our friendship continues to flourish more and
It
more with
will
each
happen.
passing day.
It will
Because
happen, man.
I don't use this term lightly, and I never usually use it. But to call somebody my brother, like I call you my brother, dude, you're the only one, really. And I truly feel that way. When I invited you on the show, we weren't that close. We were friends, but
No,
we
not
weren't
at
that
all.
close.
That's right.
But I,
Exactly.
I, I saw a lot of me in you,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
even talking about, ending the show, we were on the same page,
On the
and
same
we and,
page.
and we were saying the same thing at the same time. It's like, yeah, and this is why our friendship works so well. That's why I think that this podcast works so well, because we worked well together.
Yeah.
But our friendship is deeper than this show. And
Of course.
I'm looking forward to sharing a lot of my other passions and hobbies and interests with you. And
Of course.
Claudio,
Of course.
thank you so much for accepting to come on the show, for putting up with my BS and my OCD and all of this stuff with this show. And but it's been one hell of a ride, and it's been an honor
Yeah.
to enjoy the ride with you, my friend,
Thank you,
my
man.
brother.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you for your words, and you know that it's mutual. I feel exactly the same way. And again, just not to stretch it too much. I remember when you called me to jump into the project. Yeah, of course, I knew you from the events that you were running and all of that, but I never in the depth that I know you now. And just by creating such a relationship, with you, it's all worth it. This project just because of that. In as I said before, it's all about love. And if we have to thank Kiss for being the vehicle to create this, well, thanks, thank you to the Kiss Army Nation podcast, and again, as I said, for our friends who were part of our discussion panels, you guys, you have no idea how much we love you, and how much value you brought to the show, not only because of the content, but more so for the attitude, and the friendship that is stronger now than ever.
And to sort of end our segment of the show, we did tell a few people that we were closing the curtain on the podcast, and we talked to our panelists, and I had no idea how much this show meant to them, and how much this show meant to so many people listening. Because yes, Claudio, I told other people as well, and and then they expressed what this show meant to them. It's like I had no idea.
Yeah.
And that's the bitter part of the show, that we're ending something that meant so much to so many people. So much so that our panelists, and no prompting from us, they decided to do a farewell video for us. It's their farewell to the show, and it just goes to show how much this show meant to them as well, as much as it meant to us. It was truly something special. Not just about Kiss, but it's that emotional connection between all of us.
Yeah. So, well, without further say, I think we're gonna run the video now, and I think it's time for us to say goodbye. And once again, Pask, thanks for every single minute that you put into this. Thank you for the airtime. That was fantastic. We always ended in a high when we were recording. To me, the balance and the end result is that every time we were recording this, we ended up happier than at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And that to me, it's already undeniable of the value that what we created. So thank you so much, and thank you, Kiss Army, for your support. Thank you for all the time that you put into this, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, everybody, and remember, for the last time, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone.
Army Nation podcast. I just have to say this. I always loved your screen right before the episode would start. It said, when the curtain drops, the excitement begins. And I will dovetail that at the last Kiss show that I saw in Rosemont with Caruso's. And we had been saying it the whole time through the end of the road, the last time we hear this song, the last time we see this. And I remember being in Rosemont when that curtain dropped for the last time of us getting to see it. And you could kind of just feel the weight of that, the finality of it. And then seeing the December 2nd show of that year for the end of the road, and, seeing it with millions of other people. But the idea of that curtain falling for the last time was something that, we talked about. I think we even talked about it with you guys on various shows leading up to the end of the road. And here you guys are. Your curtain is descending for the last time. I will never forget getting a message from Pasquale saying, hey, we would like to invite Right Between the Eyes on the show. And I could not get off the computer fast enough and pick up my phone and text Nick and Nico and say, holy cow, Kiss Army Nation podcast wants our little rinky-dink show to be on theirs. That gave the three of us just such a even like right now, like loss of words. Like, all right, is this a joke? Are we being punked? Because I was one of those. I was always like long-time listener, first-time caller. Never wanted to like chime in and type anything into the computer, onto YouTube, commenting on the videos. I'm like, I'm going to sound so stupid. I'm going to sound like a noob. And, when we started doing our show, I always thought, well, there are all these great Kiss podcasts, and Kiss Army Nation was one of those that we were like, I don't want to do anything that makes us sound like a stupid Kiss fan. And getting messages from Pasquale going, oh man, I love your show. I remember sending that to Nick and Nico going, they are actually listening to our show. That the phrase of rising tides raises all shifts. That's just what the Kiss community has always done. And your guys' show, yes, has been about Kiss, but more importantly, it was about not just like us, but all of us, the whole Kiss Army, that you guys found a way to take the fandom that whoever it is, didn't matter what walk of life, who they were, if they were a Kiss fan, they deserved to be on your show. And what a badge of honor that is to be on Kiss Army Nation, to get interviewed, the countless interviews and guests that you guys had. But the thing that was always at its core was always the fans. And then getting asked to be on various times on your show, I was like, it's one thing to be on as a guest. Okay, that was a cool one-off. and then to get asked to like, hey, would you be a panelist? Or this would be a great episode for you to do. And I always took such reverence with that, and it meant so much every time that Pasquale would ask me to do something. And then I had the idea for doing the round table on Right Between the Eyes, and I thought, do I reach out to Pasquale? Like, can you do that? Can you reach out to Pasquale and Claudio both? Is that possible to do? And just your whole band of people. So to be able to actually work with you and be part of our show, and it just be this reciprocal thing, it underlined that fandom. And then being able to text you and talk to you about things that weren't Kiss related and other musical avenues, and it has meant the world. And when I saw the message that you guys were ending the podcast, it just that other piece of the Kiss fandom, the knowing nothing lasts forever. So take everything that you're doing and do it as if it's the last time you're doing it. You guys have done that time and time again on your show. It didn't matter who was on the show, all of your guest panelists, your own team, every individual that has been on that show has been a blast to watch. And I am honored that I even got to be a small little fraction of your wonderful channel. I hope this isn't the end of you podcasting and doing different things. The door is always open for you to come on my show as I'm getting ready to start my next adventure. But the thing that makes all of this special in a way is, I've said it a million times, you're walking through a Walmart, you're walking down the street, and you see somebody in a Kiss t-shirt, and you say, that is an awesome shirt. That conversation instantly starts. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of Ace Frehley, Vinnie Vincent, Eric Singer, Mark St. John, Bruce Kulick, Gene Paul, Ace, all of them. You're a Kiss fan, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the band that we all love. Thank you for the years and years of time, effort, and talent. It has made the Kiss fandom through the ups and downs. Your show was always top of my watch list. Anytime Kiss Army Nation podcast had something, I didn't care what the topic was. I didn't care who the guest was. All I knew is that curtain was going to drop and the excitement was going to start. So, tip to the hat to all of you Kiss Army Nation podcast. Thank you for everything you did. And more importantly, thank you for the friendships that was started over this little band that has just blossomed into lifelong friends. God bless you on all your endeavors, and don't be a stranger in the podcast YouTube community. Take care. God bless.
Hi, everyone. We all agreed to do a short video to say goodbye as the curtain falls on the podcast. Let me just start out by saying thank you to Pascal and Claudio for having me on as a member of the fandom first, and then as an interviewer, and finally as a panelist. I am so grateful and so honored to have had an opportunity to spend so much time with you guys on the panels and on the shows. I think my favorite interview, of course, is with Ryan, but we won't get into that. Anyway, it was an amazing journey. I learned a lot about you guys, and I learned a lot about myself in doing so, and it was quite the adventure. I know I wasn't always as technical or as knowledgeable on the subject as you guys were, but I had to dig for a lot of those answers sometimes, and I had to do a lot of homework, so I'm not going to miss that at all. But nonetheless, it was fun. It was quite the experience, one that I will never forget. We always had fun after the show and before the show, and I think we've all agreed that we would stay in touch, so that's a good thing. And to my fellow panelists, I'd like to say thank you for welcoming me on board like you guys did. You were always so gracious and so kind. And it was always interesting to see how different we perceived the answers to the questions, or how differently we perceived the questions, because we always didn't, even though we read the same question, we always didn't see the question to be answered in exactly the same way. But more times than not, we agreed on a lot of the same things, which was interesting nonetheless, because we're all from different backgrounds. I think you guys are all closer together than I am. But anyway, it was always a lot of fun, and there was camaraderie and fellowship between us, and I'm going to miss all of that. And to our listeners, thank you for supporting us all these years. Without you and without the fans, we would not have been possible. And I think that's why we ran so long, is because we were for the fans. And, you know, we are the biggest fan base in the world. We are one, and we are all in the Kiss Army together. And as Pascal always says, keep rocking, guys. Keep the band in your heart. And let's all stay in touch. I love you guys. God bless.
Hello, this is Eric Brunet, and I'm here today to thank Claudio and Pasquale for many years of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I was fortunate enough to be invited to participate in a few episodes and always really enjoyed my time on there. I think that Claudio and Pasquale worked really hard to come up with a unique concept for their podcast, interesting topics, interesting episodes, interesting panelists, and I want to thank them very much for their dedication to the Kiss fan base. I also want to thank my frequent co-panelist, Patrick Demotsigny, who has been a friend for, I think, almost 30 years now, maybe more, through his organizing of the Montreal Kiss conventions many, many years ago. My other co-panelists, and of course, the multitude of viewers who tuned in to watch our podcast whenever it was released, who offered feedback. It's been a great time. I've been a fan since 1978, very much because of Ace Frehley's solo album. Of course, last year, Ace passed away. Things changed a little bit for me. Priorities change as we get older, but I'll always be happy and have great memories of my Kiss fandom, and looking forward to keeping in touch with the people I met through this fandom. So I wish you all the very best, and wherever life's adventures may take you, may there be a Kiss song blasting on your car stereo as the soundtrack of your life, as it's been for mine for the past many, many decades. Take care, and all the best to all of you.
Well, they say all good things must come to an end. This isn't a good thing coming to an end. This is a great, fantastic podcast coming to an end. I'm sad, but also I understand the need to pursue other endeavors. That being said, I'm going to miss being on that show, because that was a great opportunity for me to share my humble opinions with other great Kiss fans. And I think that was the probably my favorite part of the show. That being said, the podcast was fantastic, different from others. I know they all say this, but in this case, I have to say the podcast was different in the sense that the content was shorter, but more to the point. Great guests, and a lot of dedication from Pascal and Claudio. And for you too, I wish you nothing but the best in your future plans. Discussing our favorite band with you, I'm going to miss very much, I have to say. But I think more great things are going to come our way for sure, one way or another. We can stop a podcast, but you cannot stop the fun that we had. And I hope it's going to I hope it's going to come to something better for you guys. You guys deserve it with all of your dedication, all of your great ideas that you had over the years. It was nothing but a good experience being part of it. And again, I want to thank you. I'm sorry if I repeat myself, but I want to thank you from the bottom of the heart for giving me the privilege to participate in this great podcast, and hopefully more great things are going to happen to you guys. I wish you all the best and nothing less, and hope to see you soon.
As the curtain falls on this terrific podcast, to all our friends on the Kiss Army Nation podcast, viewers and fans, I'd like to give an extreme thank you to Pasc and Claudio and my fellow panelists for their unrelenting dedication and love of the band and love of the Kiss community. Some of my favorite episodes, as you know, I'm a big Elder fan, and the interview that we did with Chris with his Ancient Door CD, sorry guys, was one of my favorites, as well as those nonstop homework that Pasc had given us, which makes us more in tune with the band and finding out things we never knew. And like I said many times, there's no homework like Kiss homework. We've had many guests, and I was fortunate to be a part of the discussion panels many times. And I do sincerely thank you for that. It was something I remember for the rest of my life. Through this podcast, we've made many friends, new friends, renewed old friends, and the Kiss community. Definitely a way to keep in touch, and a lot of us do keep in touch even after the podcast. What I liked about the podcast and the discussion panels in particular was we always shared different points of view, and our different points of view were always respected. And you know what? We saw things sometimes in different light, and someone else brought a comment or a point up, and you're like, yeah, you know what? I never thought of it that way. So that I really appreciated. We have a common theme with all these podcasts, that it's just another way of outreaching of the band and their history and stuff. So to all the hard work that Pasc and Claudio has put into it, with the editing and with the finding the guests and recording and everything like that, listen, a heartfelt thank you. Great job, guys. And to my fellow panelists and all our guests, thank you very much. And remembering the good times we had while this podcast went on. And guys, like Pasc says, never stop rocking, guys. Take care, and hopefully there'll be more Kiss news and Kiss stuff in the future. All right, guys, so just take care and rock on.
Hello, everybody. This is Michael Bernasian here, occasional Kiss Army Nation podcast discussion panelist. And I'm going to try and keep this short. I want to touch on two things, thank two very specific entities. The first one, obviously, are the people who watch this podcast every week, or even if you don't watch it every week, you watch it occasionally. Thank you very much for doing that. I know that Pasquale and Claudio put a lot of effort and time into making these podcasts, putting them out every Sunday. It's not an easy thing. Obviously, we as discussion panelists put in our time and effort into preparing for the podcasts, the discussion panels, and then obviously recording them. So, thank you very much for sticking with this podcast, for watching the episodes, whether you watched a few or whether you watch them every single week. Thank you very much. As Gene Simmons has said on many occasions, without the fans, Kiss would be nothing. Well, you know what? Without the fans, without people watching this podcast, again, it would be nothing. It would not have lasted as long as it did. And secondly, I want to thank Pasquale and Claudio for giving me the chance to be part of this podcast. early 2022, they gave me my own fan profile episode. They let me be part of their interview with Philippa Nassil of Thunder Mother. And then eventually in early 2023, at the very last minute, Pasquale sent me a messenger text asking me if I wanted to be part of a discussion panel last minute with only about an hour to go before they were going to record. And I said, sure, why not? Let's give it a try. And, it must have worked out because for the past 2 years, I've been, a rotating guest on the discussion panel, and I've enjoyed every single minute of it. Sometimes it's been work, putting the time in to do the homework and figure out what kind of answers you want to give. But, the feeling of satisfaction once you see the final result, it always made me very happy. And I'm very grateful to Pasquale and Claudio for giving me the chance to be on their podcast as part of the discussion panels and occasionally a Let Me Know episode. So who knows what the future holds, but I'm, I'll say it one last time. I'm very grateful to have been part of this podcast, and to all the KISS fans out there, stay loyal to the bands that you love. Get into some new bands also that perhaps were inspired by KISS, and keep this music alive and well. Thank you very much. All the best to you.
Hey everybody, it's Xander signing off on the KISS Army Nation podcast. Yes, as bittersweet as this is, it is important that I give a very special thank you to Pasquale and Claudio for having me on the show a couple of times, but also a very special thank you to Pasquale for allowing me to create the look of the show these last several years. It has been an amazing honor designing the logo for the podcast, every single thumbnail, every single graphic animation, whatever it is. And so I just want to extend my personal thank you to Pasquale for that honor, and to Pasquale and Claudio for all the hard work they put into this show, all the tireless weeks of planning and, curating everything, all the interviews, everything. I know how it goes. And so you guys did it to an amazing level. So hats off to you guys. Over 200 episodes. Anybody who watched this show knows that every single episode was a different fan, a different perspective, a different story. It was, that's the thing about this podcast, is that you had people from all over the world, literally the KISS Army Nation. So, job well done to you guys. A very special thank you to anybody who watched the show. And again, thank you to the two hosts for allowing me to be a part of the show in some way. I am truly grateful and beyond honored. Congratulations on an amazing show. I wish everybody the best. Peace out and rock on.